Hi, Maggie. It's so lovely to meet you. My name is Ashley Rockwood, and I too am a special education teacher. As of this coming up school year, I actually started my new position 3 days before the end of the school year last year, and it was just, or last week, and it was just so information overload. But I'm going to be an elementary special education resource teacher. So we have similarities, but also a few differences in there. I know you said something about teaching high school, and I'll get to that in a minute. But that's pretty cool. If I have any questions for you, I may reach out to you because the whole special education system and requirements and stuff is going to be kind of new to me. Yeah, so um, anyways, in regards to special education, you said something about how rewarding that process was of working in that department. And my first year after my undergrad studies, I studied elementary education. I was a TA in a preschool program for children with disabilities. So it was a peer model program where what they had typically developing students with students that had special needs but were not identified yet. And it was probably the hardest but most rewarding experience I think I've had in my career so far. I remember in the beginning of the year, a student didn't know his name and he wasn't able to follow basic one-step directions. And by the end of the year, he knew his name, he was writing his name, he was able to follow one, two, and almost sometimes occasionally three-step directions. And it was just so rewarding and so powerful to see how much these students can thrive off of special supports. So I'm totally right there with you. And you said something else about aside from the academics, it's something special about it aside from the academics is actually getting to know them. And that I think is so important, especially in this capacity of working with kids or adults or just any relationships, building a trust with those people or with anyone that you're working with and getting to know them creates room for compassion and empathy. And I think it's just, I don't know, it's really important. I think you getting to know somebody on an individual level makes them feel seen, heard, and validated, and that is kind of part of the essence of what we're doing in this field of study right now. I don't teach at an IB school, but my high school was an IB program, and they had the IB program there. My parents actually forced me to go into it, and my junior and sophomore year in the pre-IB, and then you go into the official IB, and I intentionally lowered my grades, so it was kind of silly. My parents, I think now are able to recognize that that just wasn't the path for me, but I think they were a little upset that I did that because I didn't want to have to go into that intensive course of study. I was just like a little social butterfly, and that's all I wanted to do was socialize when I was young. I think it's really interesting that you are a poli-sci major and wanted to work into the government, and then somehow through the course of your family, I imagine, and just experience, you ended up in education. And I too, I started my undergrad in criminal justice and then like cosmetology and all this stuff, and went through this really big depression. And my parents, for several reasons, and my parents made me move home. And it was during that time, about my second year in my undergrad studies, where my mom was a teacher, and I decided I had always been in the capacity of working with kids, whether that was like babysitting or nannying or coaching. And it was then that I was like, all right, I'll give education a try. And I started taking some classes. And then from then on, that's where my path was. So I think it's pretty cool that we have that in common of just like, I don't know. I think most teenagers or most people, there's so much pressure that's put on knowing what you want to do right when you graduate high school and figuring that out. And I had the privilege of having the capacity to kind of figure that out afterwards, and have parents and family that was really supportive along that journey of exploration. Yeah, and there's something else you said that in regards to counseling, one of your goals and reasons for wanting to do it is that you want to impact more students, not just special populations. Um, and I think that that is really awesome because, like you said, I think you said something about we all have feelings and emotions, and people just don't know how to deal with their problems. And I think no matter what population you come from, we all have problems, not to be comparative to any others, but we all have emotions and feelings, and it's hard to deal with them. Sometimes it's hard to even recognize them. Even with myself, I'm still learning to recognize things that I'm feeling and say them out loud, and then understand healthy ways of coping with them, because we might be feeling something and then, I don't know, if unintentionally or unaware, we're unaware of ways that we're coping, and those might not always be the healthiest way to do that. And so I wholeheartedly agree with you right there, and supporting those, all the people, the whole child, all children, no matter what your background is, being supportive of that and helping them overcome those obstacles and problems. It was really nice to just hear somebody who also has the same thoughts and ideas in regards that I do towards that. And then your quote was, happiness is not the absence of problems, but the ability to deal with them. And here you were talking about working with high schoolers and the problems that they've had, and how you've recognized that they mature really quickly, and they're also very different than problems I think we experienced in high school. And I think, social media, just society in general, and social media and all these external influences have definitely created a huge difference in the challenges that these high schoolers or any children deal with these days. And myself, being an elementary teacher, I've worked solely, except for like 8 months, 6 months, in the elementary capacity, and that, those kiddos, they may not be as vocal about their problems. I think that a lot of the times they've experienced trauma and they don't even recognize that it's trauma, and the trauma results in undesired behaviors and just things that are, things that really affect their social skills and then also their academic skills. And it's really challenging because, you were talking about teaching them the skills. Like, these are high schoolers that are going to go out into the adult world and have to maintain jobs and have an income. And at the elementary level, I look at it as these are behaviors and things I am seeing from a child who is 4 years old. And if we don't work towards not solving the problem, but if we don't work towards recognizing that there's an issue and then trying to teach coping skills or replacement behaviors now, those behaviors and those norms are going to be enforced every year as they get older and older, and ingrained in them, in their psyche and their body and their personality. And so I find it to be so rewarding at the elementary level to be able to see, like, a student start out having these behaviors for this or that reason, and then working through them, and then finding them using replacement behaviors or coping strategies that help them deal with those. And so hopefully you kind of can build the capacity for that to continue to happen as they go through life and in stages of their life. But yeah, it was really great to meet you. And I look forward to working with you through the program. Thanks.